Okay, so we're gonna get into the last topic here. I want to talk about PlayStation moving forward. So we have PSX later this year, which there's no confirmed date yet, which is weird. Um, I just want to talk about so one of the big things as far as PlayStation moving forward. One of the biggest issues I had with PlayStation meeting is I felt it was really weird that they, like we talked about earlier, PlayStation VR was a footnote. I think PlayStation VR is a huge thing for PlayStation moving forward. That could be one of the things that sets the standard for PlayStation being a better place to play over Xbox. And obviously there's rumors that Scorpio is going to have Vive support or something like that. But if PSVR seems like the most consumer friendly. It's the easiest thing to sell to somebody as far as VR goes. I don't know what a Vive is. I don't know what an Oculus is. Oh, PlayStation's making this thing for virtual reality? I know PlayStation. It's the easiest into that market. And it's weird that for this event where they're talking about the PS4 Pro being for the PlayStation gamer, the hardcore gamer, your hardest fans are going to buy that PSVR. It's not going to be the average everyday consumer that's buying this new piece of technology for $400. It's weird to me that there wasn't a blowout for PSVRs.
In my opinion, I think that would have been the best way to sell PS4 Pro was via PSVR. We have this PSVR. It's going to work on your regular or slim PS4, just like it already would have, but it's going to work a lot better on your PS4 Pro. Yeah. That's how you sell a PS4 Pro.
And you know who the PS4 Pro is for? It's those people who want to have the best PSVR experience.
The highly discriminating gamer.
Have Shuhei come out there wearing the PSVR, looking dumb with the two sticks in his hand, playing some game. That would have been awesome,
That's the part of the whole thing I think they screwed up on the most. Because the way it sounds is that if you don't have the PS4 Pro, then your VR experience is not just going to be a little worse. It's going to literally make you motion sick because it can't get high enough frame rates. That's the vibe I'm getting from this, and that's the part that actually does upset me because that's unfair because they've been marketing PSVR as it works with PS4s.
Yeah.
But it works, but it makes you throw up unless you have the better PS4. That's the part that's that's fucked up.
Exactly.
Is the case if the VR comes out, because that's the thing is
remains to be seen. I'm just speculating.
There's going to be a chunk of time where PSVR is out and the Pro isn't, and so we're going to see no one's going to be able to run it on a Pro. So we're going to see, does it actually work on the regular PS4, and if it doesn't, and they're really just that's kind of
that's
why
a problem.
This Pro exists. Yeah, is just so
that's
that they could have something to fall back on for VR. Then they could really be screwed.
Yeah, it's like a floodgates thing of no, it doesn't work well on PS4 at all. The Pro, get the Pro if you want to have the best.
Yeah, we'll try it on the Pro. Yeah.
Imagine this. Imagine someone buys it and then a month later they're saying, "I don't really like this thing. It makes me sick. The games don't look right. It's just I want to return it." And Sony says, "Oh no, can't do that. You should buy this bigger PS4 instead."
All these people, the people that freaked out about we're going to do PS 4.5. Well, what about me? I just brought my PS4 within the last year, 2 years ago. I don't want to have to upgrade yet. If those people get screwed and they're not able to use VR on their regular PS4, oh my God, it's going to be hell to pay for Sony.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to talk about is, with the future PlayStation, I think most of us, do you guys see this as a 4.5 or a 4.2 or 3? What do you guys see this as? Just easy, just so I can get to my next
4.
point.
4.5.
Okay, do you see this as a 4.5, Dom? So, do you guys think their next console will be the PlayStation 5? If yes, when do you think that'll come out? And this is all, hyperbole. And if not, what do you think their next step is as far as consoles? What do you guys think the future is with their consoles?
I don't know, man. This puts it in, this is some murky water that they just started up yesterday, or a couple days ago, yesterday, I guess. This muddies the water. This confuses me as far as where they're going in the future. That's the thing is, okay, this thing comes out this fall. It's all well and good now, but is the PS4 Pro really going to get you into 2019, 2020? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It's not a big enough step. And so it's Jesus, PlayStation 5 in 2018. So that means you have 2013, you have PS3. 3 years later, you have PS4 Pro. Did I say 2013 PS4? I don't know. Anyways. So 3-year intervals, you have another, you have the PS4 Pro, and then 2 years, which is even less, obviously, than 3. It's like a snowball effect. You can only release so many consoles in this amount of time and really not, piss people off. I'm not talking about people whining and complaining about, oh, I just bought my console 3 years ago. I don't want to upgrade. I'm talking about people being like, fuck Sony. I'm not buying your console. I'm not buying your games anymore. And you lost a customer.
So when do you think PS5 is?
2018 at the earliest.
2018 at the earliest, but like...
And I say fall 2018, not even like spring.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they just fucked themselves, dude. Like, first of all, I don't think there's really any redeeming qualities about this PS4 Pro. And besides that, like, it really just totally throws off the flow of what you were doing. If they had released PS4 in 2013 and then PS5 in 2018, everything would be cool. You don't need to upgrade for next year. Like, all the games that are coming out next year, Mass Effect will run on a PS4. Cyberpunk 2077 will run on a PS4. You know, you can get through the rest of this generation without this half step.
Yeah.
And then, 2018, everyone's ready to buy your console because everyone loved the PS4 and nobody just bought an upgraded version half a year ago. And so everyone would buy the PS5. Now it's like you stilted that, so like only half of the people are going to buy the PS5 because they just upgraded or whatever. It's like this is just muddying the water way, way too much.
The last thing I wanted to talk about here, and I actually did a poll because I wanted to see what other people's thoughts were before we jumped into this. So backwards compatibility, I think, is a huge thing. I think it's a thing that not everybody uses it, but it's definitely a comfort factor thing. So I ran a poll and I asked, the next PlayStation console, does it need backwards compatibility? And I gave 4 options. I put yes, no, name changes and fixing the PSN is more important to me overall. And the last one is I don't mind either way. Meaning that, like, if it has backwards compatibility, cool. If it doesn't, cool, right? And obviously this is a small subsection of gamers, so don't take this wholeheartedly, but 24 people said yes, 8 people said no, 3 people said no, everything else is more important, and 3 people said I don't mind. So more than 3 times of the people said that backwards compatibility was important. This is weird to me in the sense of with PlayStation so the Xbox One S comes out, it's backwards compatible just like the Xbox One, meaning you can still play your 360 games, right? PS4 Pro doesn't change anything, right? Still isn't backwards compatible. Xbox One Scorpio, for all intents and purposes, is going to be backwards compatible, right? They've said that. If the PS5 isn't backwards compatible, do you think like that's huge for gamers? Like, do you think that not having it will be a huge detriment? Because that'll already be 3 consoles that Xbox has on them that's backwards compatible.
So it first of all it will be like 120. I would bet a paycheck on it that it will be. That's why they moved to this architecture. I probably won't buy it.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, that's if they don't for some, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine why they wouldn't, because that was the whole purpose of moving to this PC like architecture.
It's kind of like owning
infinite backwards compatibility.
It's kind of like owning Blu-ray technology and not putting it in your new console.
Jesus Christ.
That I'm starting to come around on.
I don't think it's a huge issue, but it's still weird. It's like, why not?
Yeah, especially weird because they definitely knew that Xbox One S had it.
Yep.
Because they own it.
Yep.
And I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but wouldn't Microsoft have to pay Sony royalties for every Xbox One it sells with a Blu-ray player in it?
Yeah.
Or
so they have to know
the licensing fee. Yeah.
Yeah. It's proprietary technology.
Yeah. So they have to have known that was in the plan for Xbox for a while. So they knew that. That's an advantage. And yet they think that they don't care. They don't care that people.
But think about this. Sony isn't a company that cares about the why not. Like, name changes aren't a mandatory thing you need for a console, but why not throw it in?
Well, it's probably not possible for them.
I know, but they can work on
feasible.
You can make that excuse for only so long. The thing is that
Well, that's why I said feasible.
Yeah.
I correct myself. It's certain everything's possible.
Yeah. No,
but it might not be
I wasn't talking about you either. I was
feasible.
talking about Sony. And like, for instance, it's like, well, this isn't a huge detriment to not have this in our console. Why not include it? And then they don't. It's like, this isn't an end-all be-all. The numbers for people buying Blu-rays that are like 4K isn't probably a huge number, but it doesn't seem like Sony always makes those decisions of like, why not? They don't go with sure. They go with no,
That's because they got burned on the PS3. They said, why not Blu-ray? Why not built-in Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Why not free online?
It's starting to make more sense. So Andrew House did another interview after the conference, and he said every year for the past couple of years, Blu-ray sales have gone down by 20%.
Yeah.
Like year after year.
Yeah, people are going digital and streaming.
It probably would have been very cheap for them to put this in the console, but say it adds $20 to the cost of the console. Then all of a sudden, what they have to like raise the price of the console by like $50 because they're not going to make it cost $420.
Yeah, because then it's 420 blaze it. Yeah.
So when you put it that way, I see why they
fucking buy
made the decision.
And I understand your whole point of like the Scorpio isn't out yet, so we don't have to worry about it. But the thing that I think the Xbox could have going for over the PlayStation, this weird cycle thing right now, is so everything we've heard about the Scorpios, it's more powerful. The current Xbox One will play all of the games that come out on that, right? There was a period of time where all the games that came out on Xbox One worked on the Xbox 360. If this is a brand new Xbox and this isn't Xbox One Pro, I'm just gonna call it that for comparative sake, right? If this isn't the Xbox One Pro and this is the Xbox 2, which is stupid, I hope they just call it like the Xbox Infinite or something, then that actually has a higher chance of selling consoles, I think, than a PS4 Pro, because people are more likely to buy a brand new generation of a console than an iterative one. As a console gamer, I think it's in your mindset of like, I'm much more likely, if the Xbox 360 Elite came out and then the Xbox One came out, I'm more likely to get the Xbox One than I am the Elite. There's no point to buy the Elite, And I think that's a weird thing we're going to see how it works out, because if the Xbox Scorpio is a brand new Xbox, a new generation, and they sell that as such, that's going to be interesting to see how these two things work, because it'll be two different paths to this console kind of thing moving forward, so.
Well, people are asking who's this for and what is its purpose. Excuse me. Xbox One S has a very clear purpose. It slims that giant-ass ugly VCR down to make it look like an actual modern 2016 thing that would sit in your living room.
Yeah, except for people like Tryptophobia who hate all the holes on it, but...
Actually, the only gripe I have with the way it looks, it's that circle. You can see the circle.
Oh,
where
the fan?
holes are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also sorry it doesn't sound like a jet engine. It does look kind of weird. I agree with you on that.
But it's tiny.
It gets rid of the power brick, which a lot of people are into. And clearly, the aesthetic prowess of the Xbox One S has helped it sell. I think if we're looking at whether or not this the ugly box that the PS4 Pro is going to affect it, just look at the Xbox One S. It's flying off the shelves. It's sold out.
Yeah,
because of how much better it looks than the shitty old VCR.
See, I don't think aesthetic has anything to do with that, really. Maybe a tiny bit, but look at like every previous PS3, they all look dumb. They look ridiculous. Every single one of them.
The first one with the Spider-Man lettering.
The NES, the SNES.
Yeah.
Like, they all looked goofy as hell. The original Xbox, like, even the 360 to me looks goofy. Like, I don't think aesthetic is the driving factor in which
it is a part,
though.
I think it is a part. I don't think it's a driving factor, but it definitely is part of a consumer's purchasing.
It is, and I also think I just disagree with you that all of those consoles are ugly. I think you just mentioned a lot of good-looking consoles.
I think it's all subjective. The thing though is like, you made a very good point in. PlayStation 4 Pro exists, the Xbox One S exists. I think Xbox did a lot more to make people want to upgrade from an Xbox One to an Xbox One S than what PlayStation did for people who own a PS4 to upgrade to a PS4 Pro.
Yeah. In
my opinion, I think they did more. They made more. They sold it more,
I totally agree. If you need any more of an example of whether or not this is only a half step from Sony, the 4K Blu-ray is just about as good as it gets.
And like I don't think
that
that either of these consoles are for people to switch over. I don't think the Xbox One S turns PlayStation gamers into wanting to buy an Xbox One S, and I don't think the PS4 Pro turns Xbox players into buying a PS4. I think it's you're trying to upgrade your current, gamers, your current number of people.
Yeah, you're going from PlayStation to PlayStation or Xbox.
Exactly. I don't think, and yeah, I don't know. I have nothing.
Yeah,
else to
no,
say.
and I agree.
Yeah.
And you just said a second ago that Microsoft did more with their people to get their people to upgrade it to the S than Sony did with their people getting them to upgrade with the Pro.
See, I don't get that. The Pro plays games at higher resolutions.
Yeah, but you're talking about the average console gamer. It does play it. It plays Xbox One games will play better on the Xbox One S than the Xbox One.
It's the exact same, just with HDR. If you have a TV.
No, they 4K upscale as well.
Well, that doesn't mean anything upscaling from 1080p though. It's pretty much the same
But
thing.
does a PlayStation 4 Pro also upscale?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it doesn't
To
need
be the-
much past the resolution
but,
it renders at.
See, but also the thing though with the Xbox One S over the PS4 Pro, as far as getting people to upgrade, is that the average console gamer, hearing that it doesn't have a power brick, they get excited about that. You know, that it's smaller and it fits better. That works. Like the average console gamer, if you tell them it's more powerful, like I don't think that's as much of a selling point to the average person as opposed to these.
Do you guys because do you guys remember when they announced PS4 and Xbox One? After the whole kerfluffle with used discs and this and that, like everyone, like there's been these resolution and frame rate wars. That's all anyone was talking about during those first like 2 years when these consoles were released.
But that's
Xbox runs it at
talking-
900p.
but that's-
You're talking about two different groups of people. Jared's talking about average consumers, and you're talking about hardcore gamers.
Well, yeah, the average consumers are the people in YouTube comments watching Call of Duty videos.
Also, you have to remember
that
the
were saying
reason
this.
the reason PS4 got off to a jump start on the Xbox One had nothing to do with that. It was a more powerful console. It's that the Xbox ruined their
I think
messaging.
it's a huge part of it.
No,
It's
it
a
wasn't. It
huge
was the
part of it.
Xbox ruined their
disagree.
messaging.
I agree with Jared, Dom, because I think if they hadn't come out and done all that DRM shit and done all the used games and the blah, just the always online console and making it this weird media box, that they shot themselves in the foot and they got off on such a bad start that they weren't going to be able to recover. I think even if the Xbox One, if it was roles reversed and the Xbox One was running games at 1080 and PS4 at 720, I think people still would have gone with PS4 because of how bad that message
and the
was.
reason
Yeah,
the
but the margin
performance-
would be closer.
And the reason the performance was such
Closer,
a
but
the reason the performance was such an argument after the fact is because Xbox actually started fixing their messaging, right? And they started saying everything gamers wanted to hear. But at this point, PS4 had such a huge lead that the fanboys who make the arguments for the resolution with these consoles, because everyone knows that the best resolutions are on PC, the people that make these arguments, they're like, well, we can't argue about the bad messaging because they're already fixing that. Oh yeah, the PlayStation 4 is more powerful, so let's jab them with that. The PlayStation 4 is more powerful. But at the point of release, the reason the PS4 sold more is because Xbox screwed it up, like super bad. It had nothing to do with the performance. It had to do with them talking about DRM and always
At
online and all
release.
this stuff. Yes.
At release,
PS3 is an immensely more powerful console than the Xbox 360, and that really didn't help anything in that
Yeah,
situation.
exactly.
So no, I agree with you at release
Yeah.
because that was what we knew about it. But I'm saying like in the ensuing like 1.5 to 2 years where games started coming out and every game that came out had an IGN article that said such and such runs at 900p on Xbox and 1080p on PS4. For the next like 2 years, every game that came out said that. You don't see it hardly anymore because people realize that it's stupid.
Yeah,
because
because that was the only argument point
medium-
though, and that was the zeitgeist, and that's what got IGN to
Right.
have their articles read.
So that's what I'm saying. So in those ensuing months, that was a big part of why PS4 kept on growing and growing. At release, absolutely, Xbox screwed up and they fell on themselves at the start of the race or whatever. But shortly thereafter, like it was still the more powerful console, and that was like the headline. Every day was a new game that runs at a higher resolution though.
Yeah, but I mean,
barely,
you keep, and I agree with you on that. But on the opposite end of that, you keep saying that the Xbox One Scorpio or the Xbox Scorpio is a year away. Why are we talking about the PS4 Pro is out now? Those same people who care that much about that stuff, they'll wait a year to get the more powerful console. If they're invested enough to buy a console, not a PC, they're willing to wait a year to get the one that's quote unquote the most powerful.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. We've gone on way too long in this podcast, but I figured we would because this is a very interesting thing, and it's PlayStation and Xbox are going in two completely different avenues, as we can tell. If I doubt PlayStation would in any way be able to release a new console next year. If they do, they must be working on it currently, and I don't know how that would work.
Next year, hell no, dude.
Yeah,
hell no.
It would have to be like super fast. So I think it's going to be weird if the Scorpio is a brand new Xbox console and then PlayStation 5 or whatever it is. It's going to be interesting how this all plays out. But the meeting as a whole was interesting. I think we all have a different interpretation of it, but we all have a lot of things we agree on.
I am worried about Sony.
Yeah.
I am worried about Sony, and they are allowing Xbox to catch up to them, and they're being so dumb about it. All they got to do is just finish them off, and they would be off to the races, but they're just letting them stick around.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts on the PlayStation meeting, Dom?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm always worried about Sony because overall Sony as a company is kind of not been doing that great.
Yeah.
I'm not worried in the slightest about PlayStation.
And the reason we get so passionate about this stuff is because we want what's best for all of us. I don't own a PlayStation, but I still want what's best for you guys. You know, you guys, well, Dom, you don't own an Xbox, so I'm pretty sure you want the best for me. So it's like the reason we care so much is because we want all of us to have the best experience. And if we feel our fellow gamers are getting shafted, we want to talk about it, you know. So
Dom, I wouldn't be a good friend if I didn't tell you how ugly that piece of shit is.
Okay, so